Greetings and salutations, Dota fans. We're back for our third edition of the ADL this week, moving through and really starting to see some standings come together mighty quick. Team Liquid and Evil Geniuses going to be our first match on the docket today. Got more coming up later, of course. In fact, we got 4 more. Quite a packed schedule here on this Friday. Want to thank you for spending your Friday here with us. Still just 2 p.m. here on the West Coast, but I know over on the East Coast, getting towards happy hour. Always a nice way to spend your boozing hours hanging out with us and watching and listening to some Dota. Team Liquid sitting at 2-0 currently in the ADL standings, 1-0 for Evil Geniuses. Both teams have won every match they've played thus far, and had a chance to, obviously had a chance to cast EG in their last match, taking on, I want to say it was Arctic, if I'm not mistaken. Liquid looking very good in both of their appearances as well. But, I mean, let's call it what it is. This is an 8-team field that has 3 teams at the top. That's Liquid and Evil Geniuses, at least in terms of what is expected of them. The teams that you really do expect to see make it all the way deep into the championship bracket once we play through the group stage. So this is a very important match for both squads. If any team's going to have a chance to really pull ahead of the rest of the pack, it's going to be in these head-to-head matchups between the established professional teams. So Liquid are going to ban out the EO, Gyrocopter, and Nyx Assassin, taken out by Evil Geniuses. We'll see what Liquid wants to ban out to round things out. But looking ahead in the schedule while we wait on the rest of the bans, we can see Pain Gaming going to be taking on Team Liquid, who will be back-to-back in games after this one. After that, we'll have EG back in action against Pain Gaming as well, so they'll be back-to-backing. Then 2 in a row with Arctic Gaming, leading off against EG at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and then finishing their day with a game against Smeagol. So EG manages to get the bat as Liquid opts to ban the Lifestealer. Liquid immediately picks up that Clockwork in the Visage, though. And really no surprise to see either of those heroes come out. Visage, you know, I talk about it all the time in the D2L and the few times I've seen him here in the ADL. I don't want to call Visage a flavor of the month. I don't think it's that. I think he will be seeing a little bit more consistent play. I do think he is being picked a lot more now than he will be, especially after patch 6.78. I mean, after that, everything's going to change. I mean, I don't think there's anyone on the planet, professional player, professional caster, or otherwise, that can really begin to imagine what's going to be first pick, first ban worthy after that patch. Imagine we'll still see heroes like Badge Rider and probably EO, still feeling very similar, but many things going to change. Liquid first picking the Clockwork is probably the oddity for those who don't or who are not super familiar with Liquid. But for them, not odd at all. They happen to have probably, I don't think there's any probably to it. If I had to name the best Clockwork player in North America, it would just immediately be a snap reaction of Bulba. There are a couple who can challenge him for that. Phonics, an excellent Clockwork player off of Na'Vi, as is, I had him in my head, Admiral Bulldog. That's the name I was looking for, as is Admiral Bulldog, who plays for Alliance. So both excellent clock players, but Bulba really, I think, just has a little bit of a step ahead on both of them. He's so experienced on the hero. Liquid's been picking him so consistently. And Bulba just knows how to handle him out of any situation. Liquid, in fact, will give Bulba solo mid with that clock sometimes, just because clock has the ability to quite literally take a game over in the mid game if he's given an adequate start. It's just all about the matchups. With the Bad Rider out, I don't think we'll see that. EG counter-picking the Rubik and the Keeper of the Light, so filling out their supporting cast, about as solid as it gets. Liquid now has the choice of picking a Magnus, but if they do so, they'll be picking it into a Rubik. Same story with Puck, and Liquid is a team who does usually like to get their mid out a little bit early. They don't like to have Korok's options limited through the ban phase, and EG will very quickly ban out Queen of Pain, Puck, and most likely, I doubt they'll ban the Mag because they have the Rubik, and they're not going to be super scared of the Mag pick coming out. In fact, I would say Liquid will probably just let it go, and we'll see the Mag go completely unpicked and unbanned because of that Rubik pick. And that's really becoming the trend with professional teams, especially those who know each other. Wow. Gonna take a Spectre. Now, the Spectre pick itself isn't super surprising. She's been seeing more play. I think a lot of teams are beginning to play around with her and are beginning to try and figure out where she can fit into a general sense of the game, a general, this is a nice time to cover something. I was actually having a conversation with someone between the D2L and today's ADL broadcast, is whenever people use the term metagame, it's becoming pretty apparent that there are actually two metagames that oftentimes need to be discussed, and usually everything kind of gets lumped into one.
Remaining.
But for all of these teams at the top, the teams that are just ubiquitous in every tournament, Liquid, Evil Geniuses, Na'Vi, Alliance, Fnatic, Mouse, all these teams that see each other over and over again. That includes DD, the standards, the teams that are always invited to the invitational tournaments and all that. They know each other so well at this point, playing day in and day out with so many tournaments going on, that the scouting reports are so thorough and they're just so accustomed to playing with each other that the draft itself is becoming a metagame. And it's a game-to-game metagame almost. Like Liquid and Evil Geniuses, again, are going to have a different dynamic than Liquid drafting against Na'Vi, for example, or EG versus Mal's, and so on and so forth.
10
And,
seconds remaining.
whenever I see that Spectre pick come out, it's easy to see how Spectre's going to work. I mean, she's an extremely hard carry who's going to just be impossible to shut down in the late game unless EG picks their own ultra hard carry, and Liquid not about to let that happen, already banning out the Alchemist. EG's going to take away the Shadow Demon. Wow, they're actually going to ban the Mag. I'm a little surprised by that. I think they could have gotten away with banning a Quap or a Puck. That's not to say, by the way, that Clockwork won't still end up mid. Just no way for Evil Geniuses to know that right now. And with Bat Rider, just about anyone they put in mid is going to have some problems. Queen of Pain, one of the better up against a Bat Rider. Puck's not bad either. Both of those heroes have some pretty nice built-in escape mechanisms and allows them to just hang and bang a lot better than, say, a Clockwork can. And that alone tells me the Clock's not likely to end up there unless EG shows us another hero who may go mid with the Bat going into the jungle or into the off lane. And we are seeing that a lot more often now. Seeing the Bat Rider just, teams are taking the approach to the Bat Rider of, well, he can still have a Blink Dagger up really quickly even if we don't give him mid. So why don't we give another hero that kind of potential, the chance to soak up experience in mid. But as stated, really no way to know if that's going to be the case here for EG. But anyway, back to Liquid. That Spectre pickup, she's a hero who doesn't have a lot of lane presence, who can very easily be bullied around. She doesn't have the skill set to really be able to reliably solo lane. She can in the right situation if she's up against the hero that just can't really do a whole lot to her. But she's a hero that needs protecting. And when you see, like, if I'm in EG shoes, I've got Rubik, I've got Keeper of the Light, I've got Bad Rider, I've got single target initiation covered with the Bad Rider. I've got very strong laning presence already with the Rubik and the Keeper. Keeper gives me anti-push, so I don't have to worry about holding towers so long as the Keeper's in the right position. So if I'm in EG shoes here, I almost want to go something very aggressive. Now, that is a little tough to do against the Clockwork and a Visage. Visage is a hero who does tend to peak in the later stages of the early game and on through the mid game. And Clockwork, a hero that's just very defensive by nature. He's a hero that when played in competent hands, and again, Bulba, two of the most competent hands in the entire industry, the entire community, I should say, he is going to be able to hold things down. He is going to be a gigantic liability in EG, and this is kind of why I think EG might end up reaching for a mid here, trying to get a puck of their own for Demon or something like that. Gives them some reach, the ability to silence a Clockwork or to silence out the initiation that comes out of Liquid. Speaking of silence, we see EG did ban the silencer, which makes a ton of sense given the lineup they already have. A silencer just confounds a Bad Rider, a Rubik, and a Keeper of the Light. Those are obviously three heroes that have nothing to contribute to a fight if they are silenced. The Bat in particular can be spotted out as he's fireflying looking for a target. Makes it very hard on the Bad Rider knowing you have a silence on the other side, and that can oftentimes be the problem too. A Bat lassos a target, begins to drag him back. The silence goes off with ample warning, and the enemy team can pursue after their lassoed teammate without having to worry about stuns or anything like that coming out. So Liquid takes out the Broodmother. That's an interesting ban, really, but that is a Bambo hero, and Bambo has been holding down the off-carry and off-lane duties for the most part for Evil Geniuses. They're going to go ahead and grab the Lone Druid. So the Druid's still around, and I probably should have mentioned him. The fact that they were looking for a carry, a hero that can go toe-to-toe with Spectre. Druid actually goes toe-to-toe with Spectre remarkably well, just because it's not actually the Druid himself, but the Bear who ends up focus firing Spectre, the way the root works, and the fact that the Bear just isn't going to care nearly as much about spells like Desolate, or excuse me, not spells, passives like Desolate, and allows the Bear to kind of isolate the Spectre a bit which means dispersion doesn't have nearly the same effect it does, which in the late game can quite literally kill your own supports. But EG picking up the Druid. I'm going to guess that's going to be an offlane Druid. With the Demon handling the Bat mid, which was always an option available to them. Now they just need a hard carry. Anti-Mage is there if they want to go in that direction. It just comes down to what Jo is going to be comfortable with. Jo has been running a bit more AM. They do have very good split push already. And I think an Anti-Mage pick would actually be pretty solid here. It would give them a hero they know can scale into the late game adequately with Spectre. It gives them, again, the split push potential that you're going to have with the Keeper of the Light and a Lone Druid. And more importantly, the Anti-Mage can simply split push a lane, then be recalled via Keeper of the Light's ult, which allows them to really open that map up, allow the Druid to duck into the jungle to find his farm to get his items, and also allows Anti-Mage the ability to be out of position on purpose and then brought into position when he's needed. It's just a great synergy that goes with the Keeper of the Light.
Juggernaut.
Oh, they're going to go Juggernaut. So instead of going ultra late game, and this kind of jives with what I had said originally, might be the plan. Pick a team that can apply pressure to that Spectre. Pick a team that can push the pace, and they're going to have that. I mean, they have a lot of damage coming out of a lot of different sources. Lone Druid predominantly a single target hero, but can be that that can be changed. Build a Radiance on the Bear. Now he's an AoE hero. Juggernaut, an excellent early and mid game team fighter. They're going to be able to push like hell. Pushing behind Illuminate with a Lone Druid's Bear and Juggernaut's Healing Ward is going to be very, very difficult. And I'm going to call it, it's basically been my lesson of the week almost. The idea, and I tell you the reason I say that is I've talked about it so many times on the D2L stream, on the ADL stream, that when it comes to pushing, whenever people hear the word push in Dota, they tend to think of two things. They tend to think of melting creep waves, which is certainly a part of it, and they tend to think of having creeps or something like a Lone Druid's Bear to take the focus off the heroes and to allow to just sit up front and tank reliably and keep the enemy team from being able to initiate onto your whole squad whenever they move into range to attack the tower. That's part of it too. That's where you get Chin, Enchantress. The Druid is mentioned, Nature's Prophet with his treants to push and so on and so forth. Very essential parts of the push. But the third part of the push that often gets overlooked is how reliably, especially once you push through the tier 1s and you want to start trying to take tier 2s and really strangle out the opponent. How reliably can you take a fight under their own tower? How reliable is your lineup in being able to initiate onto a team whenever they're behind the tower? And more importantly, how reliably can you force them out of that position? Can you force them into an ultra defensive position? Can you force them into the off of the back of their own tower while the lanes take shape? This looks a little bad, so I'm going to hang on a second, and I'm actually going to transition real quick and make an adjustment to the settings. I'm not sure what happened there, but it does not look very pretty. So we're going to bring it back up to right about there. See if that improves it. And it does substantially. 1 second, guys. I will be right there. You're not missing anything. Don't worry. I promise. Just making sure the game actually looks as good as it should. And there we go. Much, much better. So anyway. But yeah, getting behind the enemy tower, being able to have a threat of initiation. That's why heroes like Clockwork actually fit into a push lineup too. Even though it doesn't seem like they would. Magnus, one of the best in the business, because he not only gives you the range of reverse polarity off of a Blink Dagger and off of a Skewer, but he also gives you the Empower to help with push. He gives you Shockwave, which helps melt Creep Wave, so on and so forth. And with this lineup, having the Bad Rider, that's going to be Demon's purpose if they do decide to push it heavy, which I would imagine they're going to do. They're going to want to play this pretty damn aggressive. So the horn blows. We'll run through the lineup, see who's handling who. We're going to have Rubik, played by Fear. No surprise there. One of his marquee heroes. Running in the popped collar, by the way. I love this new set. I think it looks excellent. Back to the Druid. Actually going to be farmed by Jo this time around. Is that going to be Beatiz and Juggernaut? So yeah, they are going to go ahead and put Bambo on the Juggernaut. And thought Bambo might be on the Druid, but probably should have anticipated this whenever I saw the Juggernaut pick. I was a bit too focused in on discussing other things. But yeah, the offensive tri-lane coming out of EG. They're going to be able to put some pressure on here. And again, this a part of this is how easily they can abuse this Spectre. Spectre just has next to no lane presence. She really, really is one of the most farm-dependent heroes in the game. There's a Gale that's spent, but Bambo going to be just fine. They managed to clip IX Spike with the Illuminate. And Bambo needs to be careful here. The range on Soul Assumption is actually quite huge. And he hung around a bit too long and took an extra dose of it. But yeah, I mean, Soul Assumption, look at that. Just gigantic range on that ability. Down here at bottom, Jo going to be going up against the Darkseer of TC. And, you know, when you look at Liquid's lineup, they have a lineup that is going to be able to play so defensive. It is going to be so hard for EG to dig Liquid out of an entrenched position. Having the Clockwork to initiate or counter-initiate, having the Darkseer to vacuum your entire team into the cogs of the Clockwork. The range, which I just popped up on Visage, lets him play back and play very safely. And all of that. And the Venomancer, one of the best heroes at just kind of turning a team fight around. Lands a good Poison Nova. Lands a good Gale. And a fight that you seem to have under control can suddenly go terribly, terribly wrong. But EG likewise has a hell of a lot of tools in their own toolbox that they're going to be able to use to put some pressure on. The early laning phase is going to be very important. No surprise to see JO's doing just fine on the Druid. Same with the Darkseer. These two can do some damage to each other, but for the most part, it should be a stalemate. Outside of a true misplay, both of them should get plenty of farm. And now we're going to have an engagement. There was a beautifully shot Illuminate that actually caught the whole of Liquid there. And this is actually one of the worst places you can be if you're in Liquid shoes. And you know, normally an offensive tri-lane doesn't necessarily want to keep the lane as pushed as they have. But this is exactly why they are. This is exactly why BDiz doesn't care to hit those creep waves. With a Keeper of the Light in the offensive tri-lane, right here is the sweet spot. This is why. BDiz can set up shop behind the trees, aim his Illuminates, and they can rush creep waves all the way behind. That's actually really aggressive out of Bambo. Even more aggressive than I would have expected. But yeah, this is where they want to be. They want to stay shoved. Now, it does make it risky if Bulba hits a quick 6, which he certainly will, functioning out of mid here against Demon. And we can see Demon is getting the best of him as anticipated. But so long as they have control here, BDiz is going to be able to sit right here, and anytime they show their face, he'll be able to charge and Illuminate. Especially with the creep wave in this general area. He's going to, yep. Now, if they even try to come forward into experience range or try to last hit, he's going to hit that Illuminate over and over and over again. So EG's doing an immaculate job of not getting over-shoved, but also keeping it shoved just enough to keep the creep wave right about there. Just an excellent job so far. And look at that. That is right outside of tower range. I do mean up. See that the catapult stack takes just a step forward. But yeah, this is absolutely perfect for them. BDiz is going to be level 3 soon. Level 3 is when things get really problematic. There's going to be a Gale on Bambo. Here's the Illuminate. And going to catch everyone. Just miserable for them. And they're going to re-engage. They want to go for Fear. Here's the Blade Fury. They're able to run away because he was still slowed. Korok's going to chase down Fear. And Bambo's going to see it. There's BDiz doing a little right click. Right click on both sides. Here comes Visage. Visage going to throw the Soul Assumption. First blood. Fluff using the range on Soul Assumption perfectly. Could not have asked for more out of him. They played it patient and managed to come out ahead there. And we immediately see the TP away. But taking a look at that, and wow, Bad Rider actually just got a solo kill. On where did he go? Where did he get him? All right, flew all the way up there. I was actually looking in mid. But nonetheless,
Radiant's middle tower
Demon adds a kill to the board.
Dire's top tower is
And EG, quick to answer back. Still, the first blood goes the way of Liquid. Taking a look at the farm, though. Spectre is struggling. Last time I saw a situation like this, it was Dignitas. I can't remember who they were playing against. But it got out of control very quickly. You cannot have a Spectre start this slow. She is so dependent on items. She's one of those rare heroes that has to be both tanky and has to build right click. So, I mean, being agility, she can usually just build pure agility and get to that point. But she's a hero who very much wants to have a hard and MKB as well as a butterfly to really feel effective. And that's a lot of gold and a long way to go whenever you start out the laning phase with just 3 last hits. Demon and Bulba. Bulba benefiting a lot with having some time to himself. He has level 6 now. This and 6 on Demon as well. And Bulba again just showing why he is so good on the clock. Being even in last hits and being able to be on the same level as Demon. Jail tops on the CS board. He's got 35, so he's off to a great start. The Darkseer, played by TC, actually a little bit behind, but not by a ton. I would imagine TC will be rushing to mech, and he will, as he's already picked up the headdress. That's actually a little weird. Picking up the headdress first, usually you're going to see players rush the buckler, just because you can actually get more use out of the buckler in specific situations. But nonetheless, has it built, has his soul ring. And now it just kind of comes down to which of these mids wants to break down the laning phase first. Which of these mids wants to rotate. What I suspect is going to happen is Demon is going to end up waiting maybe another minute and a half, another minute, falling back as if he's going to rune, and then teleporting top. Bulba could do the exact same thing, though. And they're actually going to teleport to mid. They're going to try to get a kill on Bulba here in mid. Prioritizing that more than the top lane here. And now Fear's actually going to rotate all the way through. Yeah, it looks like they changed their mind. Teleported him to mid, and now going to make a run at TC. They're going to need a root here, and that's exactly what JO's going to be hoping for. He's going to commit this bear to him, and there's Fear. There's the telekinesis just as he surged. Can he get the root? Nope, not yet. Has Entangle, but now the bat's on his way over. Here comes Demon. Bulba wants to hook up with him too. And there's the Rocket Flare. Lasso brings TC back, and Bulba wise not to go in there. Best Bulba could have done was hook in and cog and hope for the best. Chances are he does that, though, with all three of them there and telekinesis very shortly off of cooldown, which it would have been, if not 100% off of cooldown. He goes in there, it's just 2 bodies instead of 1. So leaving his buddy out to dry, maybe. That is barely going to miss. Held on to it a little bit too long there. You're in mid, Demon, beginning to bully Bulba around a little bit. Soaking up some farm. And up at top.
Tower is under attack.
So annoying. So miserable. Bambo is going to be caught. Ooh, nice scale from Mike. Mike's so good out of the fight position. And Bambo now going to be caught out. And Soul Assumption doing okay damage. He has phase boots. Beat is there. Bambo will be cleaned up. Rocket Flare was there as well. And the hook, now going to catch Beat is. Bulba, opportunistic as always, gets himself a kill. 3-2. As Liquid puts 2 quick ones on the board. Take a look at Demon. He's about 900 gold away from his Blink Dagger. Bulba, still on tier 1 boots. May have something on the way to him, though. And yeah, looks like he is going to be getting treads. Picking up the Belt of Strength. And that whole play started with Mike there. And, you know, it seems so easy to hit those Gales. But, you know, situations like that, still got to give him props. Galing Bambo not only saved his teammate, but allowed that entire sequence of events to transpire. Doing his job out of the hard support role.
Do it with flair.
And really right now, about as quiet a game as you could possibly ask for. Korok trying to find some farm, trying to get himself back on track. He's down near the bottom of the list, though, in terms of CS. Sitting at just 17. The Juggernaut, in exchange, Bambo getting excellent farm, has 37 already. And actually has 23 denies, which is impressive in its own right. But both of these teams taking it easy for the moment. Liquid has rotated 2 to mid. That's going to be Fluff and Mike. They're going to try to catch someone napping. Demon, in the meantime, bailing out. And that's a stacked hard camp. He's going to have his Blink Dagger quick, fast, and in a hurry here. If he decides to take this, he is going to try to stack it one more time. We'll see if he's able to. Gives him the old end around. Here comes Liquid. That is about as fortuitous as it can get. Moving is 3. And here comes the Darkseer surging in. Fear ducked down. Now he's going to telekinesis 1. Brings him down. Gets a stun. The rest of the EG is reacting. Looks like they thought better of it, though. And Hook actually catches an illusion. Bulba's right on top of Fear. Or excuse me, of Jo. Using the battery assault. Got rooted. That's going to commit the rest of his team to come try and help. Illuminate's going to hit everyone. The bear will drop to a Soul Assumption. But EG unable to capitalize. And Demon got away by the skin of his teeth there. He has his Blink Dagger now. I'm sure he'll be falling back to buy it. But just timing it just right. Yeah, there's the Blink bot. Loop this way just as EG was coming this way. They actually checked here, then turned and went that way. A little bit of luck for the bat. And Liquid now doubling up EG. Make it 4-2. Looking at the goal graph, we can see they have not, however, been able to bite into EG's lead. And again, this all comes down to just how successful this top lane was. And they're going to look to make it more successful as 2 is smoked up. That's going to be Demon leading the charge. Fear's behind him. There's Korok going to be lassoed back. Fear's right there. Not a whole lot he can do. Fluff's going to show up, try to make it happen, but the Omni Slash does enough damage to secure the kill. And now Fluff next on the list. Fear going to have telekinesis soon. Here comes Venomancer, but the burn damage just a little bit too high. And Fear managed to get Hook. Not always the best spell whenever you don't have cogs. But still, he'll find some use for it, I'm sure. But Bambo picking up a kill there. We take a look at the kill list. We can see Demon living up to his namesake. 3-0-1 right now. 1-0, 1-0, 1-0. The grab bag of Team Liquid, spreading it out pretty evenly. 1-2 for poor Fluff. He's been feeder. Stop feed Fluff.
Structures are fortified.
But again, the farm really where things are going wrong for Team Liquid. And EG making up even more ground. This top lane was just very successful. And I think it's a good example of why Spectre isn't picked more competitively. She's just so easy to bully. And in the case of Liquid, their lanes were very predictable by the time they rounded things out. So they could run that tri-lane without a whole lot of hassle, without a whole lot of self-doubt about it. Mike hooking up a Korok, going to try to keep him safe. TC finally did pick up his buckler, so he'll be making his way very, very soon to his mechanism. And Liquid's team is the team that's going to want to fight early. This is not a team, I mean, when I say as a team, I mean they're 4. It's really going to be Liquid's job to free Spectre up some space. And like what they're doing right now is actually suboptimal. Korok getting farming obviously helps. But dedicating Mike, just sitting in his back pocket and leeching experience off the Spectre who struggled so mightily, is really not helping anyone. Spectre level 7. And she's down there with the supports in terms of levels for the most part. So not just the gold that Korok needs. He's going to need a lot more experience. And Bambo moves in. He's going to go ahead and immediately Blade Fury tried to TP. The hook interrupted it, though. The mini stun on the hook. Bulb, a very quick reaction there, and they get a very high-profile kill on Bambo. And Liquid continuing to show signs of life. This is, again, what they need to do. Pick that up. Now look at all this space Korok has. All of a sudden, the Venomancer can fall back, worry about things like stacking and pulling. Just let Korok soak everything and make up some ground. On the side of EG, I'm a little surprised they haven't started to push a little bit more. Still very early, just 14 minutes into the game, but they have every tool in the tool shed to take a fight, and they know Spectre can't come. She can pop her ulti, but Spectre coming off a farm right now is not really a luxury that Liquid has. And they are going to hook a couple up here. Demon going hunting for someone, not going to find them. The tier 2 will end up dropping. And Demon immediately withdraws. And Bulba manages to find himself a haste rune. Demon knew it was coming up throughout the flame break. But they do take a tier 1. Next might be here in mid. And Bambo's going to be getting himself a Shadow Blade. And I don't mind the Shadow Blade so much. What I do mind is the fact that he's getting it without a single survivability item. Usually you'll see something like Phase Drum, Shadow Blade. That makes sense to me. BKB not really necessary. On a Juggernaut, he does have the magic immunity from Blade Fury. As well as Omni Slash as a damaging escape mechanism. That's the way to look at Jugger. He has a damaging escape mechanism and a damaging magic immunity ability.
Dire's middle tower has fallen.
But he is going to feel a little bit thin. They immediately react to top. They're going to try to grab Korok. Let's see if they... Nope. Bambo ran out, looked at it, thought about it. Liquid joined up here in mid, anticipating maybe a little bit more pressure in that mid lane. Not going to be the case. Demon cleaning up the jungle. He's up to 2,500 gold. So Force Staff, if he wants it, could have it right now. He's still sitting on tier 1 boots, but that's not odd to see Bat Riders just sit on tier 1s. You know, having another set of boots, having something like Tranquil boots, sometimes you'll see that. Treads also, occasionally Arc boots. But for the most part, you can get away, yeah. Just skips tier 2s for now. He's, Bat's one of those, he's a positioning hero, not a movement speed hero. And oftentimes, they're one and the same. But for a Bat Rider, having the Force Staff and having the Blink Dagger more than makes up for your lack of just base move speed with Tier 1 boots. And often much more important. And we're going to see them move out together. Smoking up, Bambo's got his nose up in Liquid's business. He's going to run forward, and this could be the beginning of a big clash. We're going to see Demon take to the skies. He grabs out TC. Omni slashed as well. Will be cleaned up. The Illuminate actually cut him through the trees. Now the counter initiation. There's a Gale from Mike. Mike going to be telekinesis drop back to the ground, burning to death. Got off the Poison Nova, though. Big Soul Assumption. Nuke down Fear. And beautiful vacuum off of Korok. As they continue to fight this out, Jayo's the last still standing. And EG trying to be clever, trying to take a gank. Managed to gank into the whole team of Liquid. Darkseer did have to buy back there, I'm almost positive. And yeah, he did. I didn't actually see it pop up, but I was going to say, unless he just somehow squeezed out of that engagement, there's no way he survived after being caught out. So often as a caster, you kind of have to do that. You have to just write someone off for dead and look elsewhere because the action is picking up elsewhere. Wow. Wall goes down just to cover their escape. TC. Oh, wow. Bambo getting in there, getting another kill. And there's the Mana Leak. Well shot. And Bambo might be in trouble here. Excuse me, Bulba might be in trouble. Bottling himself back up, actually. There's TC, surges himself. And poor Mike going to be spotted out. Here comes Bambo with the Shadow Blade. Will not be able to find himself another target. But anyway, what I was saying is that sometimes as a caster, you see a hero who's so dead that you just go ahead and move on to something else in the fight because you know that hero's about to die and you're not just going to stare at it while the fight counter-initiates behind him. So there are times whenever I'll see a Darkseer or something that's about dead. Happens all the time with it happens with Darkseers pretty frequently. Happens all the time with Invis heroes. Where you just say they're dead, then all of a sudden there's no sentry down and they get away with 10 health or something. Nonetheless, EG getting back on the warpath. They still have all that push. The healing ward is down. And they're just up and face tanking here. Now, Demon gonna be caught, hit with the hook. Beautiful vacuum into the Gale. Are you kidding me, Liquid? Could not have done it better. Bambo spins out of it. Illuminate does good damage, but once again, EG's gonna be on the run. Demon's already down. Blinding Light might buy them a little bit of time, but the rest of Liquid chasing them out. And they're not gonna give up on this. Spectre's even there this time. She's got herself some phased drum, so she's beginning to feel a little bit more relevant. Jayo gonna be surged, actually, by Fear. And Keeper of the Light gonna try to TP him out. Bambo managed to make it going in the other direction, so Liquid unable to catch them. I'm a little surprised they didn't get more out of that. That was a gorgeous vacuum into Gale. I mean, just utterly beautiful. And Liquid able to ward off the Barbarians, who were banging at the gate. The Tier 2 remains standing, about 300 hit points, so out of deny range. Now with that medallion pickup on Fluff, they're going to be able to do something cute like take a Roshan. Try to sneak one maybe. Smoke in and go for it. They haven't yet, which is a little bit surprising. That's something Liquid loves to do. EG loves to do it as well. Bulba has a Force Staff up, completed his. And Visage, as mentioned, medallion. And Korok, in terms of net worth, has closed the gap. He's still behind, but not immensely. He's about 1,000 net worth behind right now. That could very easily get out of control if EG's able to take a fight and start strangling out this jungle. And really, that's got to be part of the mission now for EG. They've got all the Tier 1s down. They need to take a Tier 2. Tier 2 bottom would be beautiful for them to take. But Tier 2 tops was the goal. You take this tower, all of a sudden the jungle becomes free and open territory with the Tier 1 mid down. Tier 2 mid, the next goal. And it's actually going to be EG who goes into the Roche pit. Liquid's there and has all the tools they need to counter-initiate if they want to. Roche going down slow. TC drops the wall. There's going to be a lasso, though. Bringing him back out. He's going to mech through it. There's a vacuum. Another wall that was stolen by Rubik. Fear dropped his own. Korok in no man's land, surrounded by nothing but enemies, going to start eating a lot of damage. There's the Omni Slash. Hook actually split the wickets. Bad luck there going the way. There we go. They all doubled back and juked me. Bad luck there from Bulba. Shot that into a crowd and didn't catch anyone. And Mike still... Oh, Mike blowing his venomous gale on the illusions from Fear's stolen Darkseer wall. Otherwise, he would have died. It was a good play. There's really no other way to put it. And now EG moving to this tier 2 mid with the Spectre down. Illuminate helps clear the lane a bit. And nice deny from Visage. So they rob him of the gold. But again, map control is really the name of the game right now. This top tier 2 not going to last long. And what they can end up doing, if they're able to go back, recoup, and then get ready to push here again, they take this tower, then all of this territory becomes unsafe if they move into it as 5. That means, at best, you could send the Spectre into the bottom lane. And I'm hoping, I know you can't see my mouse cursor, but I'm drawing on the mini-map. They'll send Spectre into the middle, in the bottom lane to try and farm. Or they'll just have to start taking some all-in fights in the jungle. Because EG will just begin to suffocate them, asphyxiate them. 8-11, 22 minutes in, 19 kills on the board. And of those 19, Liquid owning the lion's share. However, though the gold did start to move in their direction, EG opening that gap back up a little bit. The experience had actually crossed into their favor for the first time since the game's outset. But now back up in EG's favor. Nonetheless, a very close game. EG feeling in control right now. But this is a game that is very, very close. Jo, let's see what he's banking on. Yeah, teams are already starting to adjust to the idea of life after the armlet. 6.78 will be changing that. The armlet will it'll be viable, I suppose, but it will certainly not be as popular. In fact, I seriously doubt we'll see it built in professional games. Unless it's just by players who love microing. But they are going to look to take a fight in this jungle. Here we go. They're spotted out. There's a Gale. Now Demon going to get in and manages to grab the DS. Omni Slash plus Blade Fury. Off goes the Venomous. The Poison Nova. Good vacuum. Brings him back. Illuminate connects, though. Beat is in great position. However, the damage being done from all of the damage over time. Demon managed to get the Darkseer. He's down. Another beautiful Illuminate. Beat is by far the hero of that fight. By far the hero of that fight. That is so much harder to do than the professional players make it look. And Beatiz did it beautifully. Was never in the fray. And Beatiz looks like he wants to go ahead and TP Rubik back in. There we go. Fear back in the pit. Demon did a great job of bringing, and it's so important for them to get the Darkseer out of those fights when they can. He's going to get his vacuum off most of the time just because he is very innately survivable. But getting him away from the rest of the team to prevent mech healing from having an effect on the rest of the team, so important. But more so than anything, again, those two big Illuminates, and those were nigh on full charge Illuminates from Beatiz. That is so hard to do, and he did it so well, because the fight broke out. Well, we have a moment. I need to start doing this more. This is a good time to practice. Fight broke out in this general vicinity. Demon came in, then drugged the Darkseer back through the trees. Beatiz was right about here. Shot an Illuminate, and it was just pure chaos. Then the fight started to push back. Beatiz pulled all the way back to right about here and shot another Illuminate. Both of them full charge. And again, it's one of the better places he could have done it because of how funneled this whole area is. But just having the wherewithal to reposition and being able to aim and loose them and do the damage. And at the same time, a good job from EG. And, you know, that's part of the fight as well. It's not getting spread out. You know, when you have a Keeper of the Light on your team, you don't necessarily want to be spread out. It's better if it's 5-on-5 clustered as much as possible. We're going to see Demon land. He's picked up Boots of Travel. And this is a very Demon-esque build. Not the only guy who does it, but is very much suited to his playstyle, which tends to be balls out, high risk, high reward. Korok picks himself up a Diffusal Blade. Still not very tanky and actually going to TP away using Spectral Dagger and its terrain-defying properties. EG once again rattling the Saber up here at this top lane. And again, the map control, really the name of the game now. Jo has the Aegis on him. And The top tier 2 does drop, and this is what exactly what I was talking about. Look where he is. Look where Korok is. He's either going to have to come fight, and they're going to have to start going all in on these team fights, or he's just going to have to farm that bottom lane. And cogs go down from Bulba. EG is going to try to force the reaction. And Spectre will probably get this tier 1. Yeah, no, probably 2. We'll get to tier 1. He's going to have to get home in a hurry. Mike blows the Venomous Gale. Just heard the lasso grabbing TC, dragging him out. There's the Omni Slash. They're going to re-engage. A lot of bird damage they're engaging into. Off goes the wall that manages to catch Beat is. Korok still doing good damage. But Spectre does manage to take the tier 1 bottom while EG is fended off. So a very nice defense there coming out from Liquid. Very nice defense. And the damage output, quite excellent on both sides. Korok using Haunt to engage into the fight. That is one of the nice qualities of Spectre. The fact that you can play to the last minute, then show up with your ulti popped. And they managed to ward him off. Cost them a lot in terms of abilities, though. And Fear actually got himself some familiars. Very nice. Demon going to have Lasso back up in 15 seconds. There's a Radiance done on Jo. And that's problematic, because now the slow siege starts. That bear going to be hitting so hard. 183 damage in 27 minutes. 181 damage, excuse me. And the bear just kind of caught out, being focused with the medallion. Demon looking for a target, going to find one. TC again. Demon has done his job as well as anyone. They didn't even get a mech off. Now they're going to engage up on the Liquid. Liquid caught in no man's land. Without TC's vacuum wall, so hard for them to engage. They're all low, bottling, doing whatever they can. Look at the Radiance burn. And Mike picked off from downtown as Demon lobs a flame break. Jim on the ground, picked up immediately by Bulba. They've got 2 down, and EG just going to wait on another creep wave. Here we go. Demon making a big play, getting TC twice. Tier 3 down. Bottom melee racks. Top melee racks, excuse me, down. 1 set down. And right now is when Liquid must be considering a GG. And Spectre's an excellent late game hero, but the problem is the bear's too big. Korok has no way to know exactly how much he is behind, but seeing that Radiance, they have to just know. They're basically Korok's basically a Radiance behind. It's probably the way to look at it. Or a Relic behind at the very least. And EG doing what EG does. They're false backing. I love it. Liquid gonna come out. Korok poked his nose out, and Korok in the wrong neighborhood. See in the base. What little gold he had goes right into the pocket of the jug. EG now going to rotate down. Jo still has some time on his age, just not a ton. He's got about 60 seconds if they wanted to just YOLO it. But really, Drew is just not a hero who works that way. I'm actually always torn about Aegis on the Druid. I think in a situation like this, I like Aegis a lot more on Bambo. Gale catches a couple. Here comes TC. Good vacuum. Wall's there. And Bulba going to engage. Going to drop the cogs. Off goes the Poison Nova. Lots of damage being done. Jo retreating along with his team. And Liquid actually coming out quite a bit. They're going to eat an Omni Slash. Now the re-engagement. Beautiful flame break. Caught 3. Mike's dead. Bulba's in trouble. He's going to be pursued uphill. Manages to go Scepter away from the damage. Jo is just so tanky right now. And this is exactly what I was talking about. The Aegis expired, or is about to expire. But, you know, the Lone Druid's just not a bear of benefits from that. If you could just have an Aegis on Bambo right there, and just let him dive half to the well, and pop back up, then Blade Fury away, there's nothing wrong with that. Nothing at all. But this game looking to be reaching its conclusion soon. As another Tier 3 drops, the bear going to have no problem. Probably going to take him about 15 swipes, if that. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Hang on, Demon says, you know what? Let's attack the little Snake Man. He takes a lot less swipes. There's a vacuum, no follow-up, though. The Visage Familiars, in all honesty, Visage Familiars have not been microed all that well today. And Fluff is a Visage player, so maybe just having an off day. Fluff's an excellent player. Not wanting to flame, but just really haven't seen a whole lot of impressive play out of him. And I'll tell you who's good with Visage is Fear. Fear showed me one of the more impressive Visage games I've seen in a while because of his microing in the front.
Dire's middle barracks has fallen.
At any rate, 2 racks are down. And EG looking to close the book. 17 to 12. Gold in the 5-digit range. 10,000 in favor of the Evil Geniuses squad. 12,000 experience moving in their direction as well. Roshan will be responding in just about 3 minutes. And they're just going to hang for the moment. And this is EG doing what Demon's going to go back for it. And he's going to find Bulba. Or TC. TC again. The perfect target. The one you want to bring down. Now they can't counter-initiate. Bulba's going to go for it anyway. But yeah, he didn't even drop the cogs. He knows he can't be here. Here comes the haunt. But it doesn't matter. Force staffing out of his own cogs. Buying some time to run away. Bambo gets another kill. And Mike just cannot stand up to this. Flame Break. He gets off the Poison Nova. But in the end, it doesn't matter. They may just push to racks now. Or push to Ancient. And that's looks like what they're going to do. They can't push bottom because the tier 2 still stands. But yeah. They're just going to go after the tier 4s. There's a glyph up from Liquid. Bulba has, he's had a good game. But for the most part, again, it comes all down to that lane. And one of the big reasons why Spectre just is not picked that much. You can shove her and bully her around in lane, and she does not farm well from behind. She is not an anti-mage who can make up with a Battle Fury. Mike, dead again. Story of Mike's life. And this game will be ending as the GGs come out. A very well-fought game out of Liquid, but EG nonetheless, with great drafting, solid play out of their top lane, and a real good performance out of Demon. Demon's going to finish the game 6-2 and 13, but it was more about his target selection than the fact that he had so many targets, if that makes sense. Much more about the targets he grabbed instead of how many he grabbed. TC became very, very well acquainted with the Bat Rider by the time all was said and done. EG getting past their North American counterparts in Team Liquid in a meeting of the pro teams here in the American Dota League. 32 minutes, 48 seconds, the time it took. 21 to 13, the final kill score. Thank you guys so much for being a part of the broadcast here today on twitch.tv/American Dota League. Hope you'll hit follow. Want to have you back for all of the action, not just today, not just tomorrow, but in the future as well. Our tournament going to be stretching through to the early weeks of July. And then after that, hopefully, thanks to your support, we'll have a second season as well. I'm here in AC Chambers, live here from EG. And once again, down from the EG studios, I guess the way I should say it. I'm actually in the office at the moment. But hope you guys are enjoying the show. You can follow me on Twitter as well. I'm at AC, at AYESEE. And on Twitch, it's twitch.tv/ACTV. The action rolls on. We got 4 more best of ones. Coming up next, we have Pain Gaming going to be taking on the losers of our first match, Team Liquid. Stick with us, guys. We'll be right back.